everyone. My name is Denise Meredith, and I'm the CEO of the World's Best Connectors. Really glad that you're all joining us this morning, or afternoon, or evening, since this is a Zoom video. Um, you can join and watch us anytime, and even repeatedly. This is going to be a show that you're going to remember and want to remember. The World's Best Connectors is a group of CEOs that I say just get into good trouble together. But we have a wide variety of people. We have AI people, we have real estate development people, we have human resources people, we have sports people. We have quite a few different people, and we have different projects going on, one of which I'm going to talk to you, a couple of which I'm going to talk to you at the end of the program. This is one of the programs that we're very excited about. Wish I had known. And so what I did this first year in 2024 is have a series to just sort of give you a flavor, just a taste of what it might be like. But Wish I Had Known is going to be a series of shows and mastermind. We'll have a private Facebook page, et cetera, in which parents can learn more about what it's like, what it needs to be like, what it should be like to be a parent of a student athlete. And believe it or not, there are quite a few of those. In the NCAA system, there are 450,000 kids. So there are a lot of parents out there, and a lot of them need help. And we're not getting it. And that's what I was thinking. So with all the changes going on with NIL, with the switching of the schools and reshuffling of everything, parents need some help. So we're going to try to do that and provide them. We're going to have a series. We're going to have, and you'll see it's quite an intensive series of different webinars just like this. And you'll be able to learn about physical, mental illnesses that are plaguing young athletes now and how to get help, assistance for that. What I think most people will be interested in is the financial part. We're going to have a lot of help there. Taxes, that really hit some people very hard this year who hadn't thought about it. Some of them that got NIL money. Guess what? You have to pay taxes on your NIL money. So some people weren't prepared for that. There's a lot of changes that are maybe going on with that pay. Each school sort of did it differently this time. The NCAA is trying to put in more policies so that people are doing it in more uniform fashion. And one way is to have the schools pay the kids. Okay, so are they doing that instead of a scholarship? There are so many questions coming out. So we're going to help parents through all of that. And it'll be a continuing session through next year. So we'll talk about that later. Today, I'm very excited. We're talking about something that's really close to my heart, and that's media. Even though I'm a scientist by training and background, media has always been part of my life. I wrote my first book when I was 10 years old. I was at the student newspapers, each school, et cetera, et cetera. And it's carried on throughout all my life. Media is changing, okay? It's way different from when I graduated from college. And back in those days, lots of times they were saying, if you're writing a book, use a man's name, okay? Don't put woman's name on there because you'll never get it published. You'll never get it seen. So we've come a long way in some ways. In other ways, I'm disappointed at some of the changes that are happening. But you're going to hear today about all different types of media. I'm very excited about that. People right now, younger people, they pretty much know one thing, and that's phone and what's on the phone. And what I discovered when I was teaching sports marketing at ASU is kids really don't know that much even about social media. So we have some work to do in training them, but right now we're going to start by training you a little bit. And we hope people have good questions to ask of our panel. If not, I always have good questions to ask as well. So what we're going to start with is newspapers. Remember those? That's my favorite medium, maybe because I've spent most of my whole life doing that. But I'm very excited to have Ray Shea here today, who's the publisher of the Phoenix Business Journal. We were just talking. I met him when he first got here. He can talk about how he got here. And I was a columnist for the Business Journal for 10 years. So I have quite a history back there. I love that. I still love the Business Journal and what they're doing. So Ray's going to talk about newspapers. They are still there. They're evolving, they're changing. It's not the same as it used to be. So you need to know about that and you need to take advantage of that. Ray, you're on.
Thanks so much, Denise. And I really just love the title of this series, I Wish I Had Known, because there's so many things that I think we can share with parents, especially, and certainly students too, anyone who may have the opportunity to view this series. So, first and foremost, that's the thing that really caught my attention when you approached me about participating in this panel. So, newspaper obviously has evolved dramatically over the years. Every year it seems to be changing. You're seeing more and more digital products, more of a changeover from print, as you referenced, to digital. And with that, and that's really been to deliver what people are looking for, to provide what people are looking for, and that's more, better, faster pieces of information. We know how the media has changed in general, which you can find something either on the internet as quickly as it happens, and sometimes inaccurate information too. So the thing that I would probably share with parents is just to, pay attention to the media, find media in both print and digital that is trustworthy. So to make sure that what you're consuming is accurate. And by paying attention to what your students and your student athletes are doing within their own social media and what they're reading, so that they're receiving the correct information and not something that may not be true out there in the world, whether it's related to their sport or to their personal lives too. So we've seen, within the Business Journal here, a shift from print subscribers to more digital. When I first started here about 10 years ago, we're probably about 60% print subscribers to our 40% digital on a weekly basis. And now that's almost done a total flip. Now we have about 40% of our subscribers receive print, and the other 60% are digital. Now we do have some that receive both print and digital, because that's still of interest to a lot of our subscribers, people that want to be able to read something on digital if they're traveling and their print subscription or their mail comes to their office or to home. So we've seen that occur over the past several years too. But with what we're doing on a daily basis too, when something occurs that our readers want to know about, we're pushing that out as quickly as it comes to us. So we share a lot of breaking news stories. We have a lot of exclusive stories. Being the Business Journal and our credibility in the market, we have a lot of our people that want to know what's happening as quickly as we can access that, or as quickly as it's shared with us. And because of the Business Journal and who we are and the reputation we do have, companies and individuals want to turn to us to be able to publish that content as soon as it's available too. So we're really in a really good position in that regard. But the most important thing I think to consider is how quickly media is changing in general. And I know there's some other folks that are going to share from some different media, but as far as print and digital, with what we publish as a publishing organization, that change is occurring as fast as we can possibly imagine. So the products that we're pushing out now are very different than what they were even 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and certainly different than they were 10 years ago. So we're in a good fortune to be able to test different products, because we have 40 weekly publications across the country, from South Florida to Boston to Seattle to Honolulu and Texas and all markets in between. So when we have thoughts of introducing a new product, which are typically more digital, we can test those in a certain number of markets before we actually launch. And so, by being able to do so, we can try to identify where the opportunities are. What are people gravitating to? If there's something that doesn't look like it's going to succeed, we'll pull that back. But by being able to test some newer products like that, for instance, like native content. So we're using what we would call native content, or custom hubs, to be able to publish what would have been known previously as white paper, but by giving somebody the opportunity to be able to share something specific about a topic, if they're a source for any kind of a business related topic, they have an opportunity to be able to publish something that's going to live evergreen. And evergreen means something that's going to stay on a website forever. So it also offers that kind of credibility. So, even in this scenario too, for student athletes, you may be able to find some really interesting articles, whether it's through the Business Journal or other media, that will be able to share a lot of trustworthy information regarding your student athlete. And so I think those can be really helpful. And there's so many good sources and resources out there. So I would encourage parents especially, but even have your students, rely heavily upon a trusted source for finding that kind of content and that information that's going to help you make the right decisions as a parent and as a student athlete too. And as Denise alluded to, so many changes coming related to name, image, and likeness, which obviously the acronym NIL has become very popular. And it's really changed the face of college sports. And there's some really positives to that, but then there's also some things that really some caution that needs to be applied as well. If you're not careful about heading into that, it can really catch you, as Denise alluded to, with taxes and so on too. How's it working within the colleges and universities? And so that game has changed dramatically. And of course, the portals, which gives the student athlete an opportunity to move from school to school. Where previously, if a student was going to transfer from one college or university to another, they'd have to sit out for a year. So that made the thought of transferring a lot less likely to occur. Now it's kind of wide open. And it's kind of like a pitfall I think that the NCAA has created for itself. And now they're kind of in this bit of a quagmire where, they're trying to figure out the best way to control that. So we'll see how that plays out. But student athletes have the opportunity to jump from one school to another, finding the best NIL opportunities that exist within a school, or if they're not getting playing time at one university, they want to be able to make that change and go to another. And now they do have that flexibility. So it's almost as if the student athlete has control over that. So we'll see how that plays out over time. But right now, I think the NCAA is trying to find ways to be able to address that. So again, just going back to the print media in particular, we're writing stories about, our local colleges and universities and circumstances. I know that college coaches are reaching out to the business community in particular, and to donors and alum, to be able to get their support so that they can encourage those athletes to come here, where they can be able to provide some of that name, image, and likeness money to those student athletes who are considering attending that university, in addition to their scholarships too. So there's a lot to consider, and I just would really just put some caution out to the parents to be able to, find the trusted sources, rely on the people who are really in the know, talk to your accountants, talk to attorneys before you make some of those moves, because if you're not taking the right steps to be able to, look into those, understand the process and where some of the caution should be applied, you can really find yourself in a precarious situation down the road too. But going back to print and media, that is ever changing. There's still going to be more opportunities. Being able to utilize the media to your advantage when a student chooses a college and university, being able to be a good spokesperson, be a good public speaker, I think is important, both for the student and the parent. You may be found in situations where you are speaking to members of the media or being asked questions about their decisions. And so I think just being able to handle some of those questions in a professional manner for both the student athlete as well as the parent, those are important. And I think those are some things to consider too. And just, be careful on what you say. As a business journal, we're not out to try to, find a quote that's going to get us more visits and more likes or more views on our website. We're kind of a different publication because we focus on business. But there are other media out there, and even mainstream media, where they're just looking to be able to create a sensationalized opportunity. And some of the lesser known publications or media are the ones that might be looking for that type of quote or comment or story, if you will, to be able to publish that and then use that to their advantage, because media are still trying to find more people to come to their website to be able to create more visits, more page views, and obviously more subscribers too, even in those cases too. I think what you'll find is the daily media, they have become, less of a print publication, or they have far less print subscribers than they did even 10 years ago, 15 years ago, especially. So you'll find that the digital media is where a lot of both print publications have kind of evolved to go in that direction too. So at this time, I'll open up if there's any questions. Denise, do you have any questions for me specifically or anyone else?
Yeah, I do have a question, or just want you to comment a little bit on whether what you're doing is sort of ahead of the other business journals. One, let everyone know, because we're a nationwide organization, that Business Journal has, I don't know how many different
40 weekly publications
40
across.
week. Okay. So there's a Business Journal near you. And so take advantage of that. And Business Journal here, what I like is they've moved into having events. I went to a really good hospitality and restaurant summit a few weeks ago. So you want to just mention quickly that approach and how that's working for you? And
Sure.
are the other business journals doing that, or are you guys just ahead of the game?
Yeah, and we hold of our 40 publications, we hold more than only one other publication, and that's our Seattle publication. More events per year than the other 38 business journals across the country. So our events are across different create different opportunities. Some are awards events and some are just content. So the one that you referenced, the hospitality event, we had two panels. One was focused on the restaurateurs, one was on hotels, and then we had restaurateur Sam Fox, who is an amazing restaurateur, has created several different restaurant concepts. About 4 years ago, he all of his business was acquired by Cheesecake Factory. So he technically works for Cheesecake Factory, but he continues to develop some of his own restaurants and concepts. He recently opened last December the Global Ambassador Hotel, which is a very high-end hotel here in Phoenix, and it's been wildly successful. There's several restaurants in the property and the hotel, of course, is second to none. So he's associated himself with the likes of Devin Booker from the Phoenix Suns, Larry Fitzgerald from former Arizona Cardinals great. And so anyway, he's really put himself in some good company, and I know that some of the hotel rooms there are in the likeness of some of those athletes that I just mentioned there too. So Sam Fox was one of our guests on that program. And so we had about 270 people attended that. We sold out the room, but those events are designed to give our both our readers, subscribers, and just anyone else in the Valley here, which is within the Phoenix area, an opportunity to come and hear from those people firsthand within the panels, or in the case with Sam Fox, with one-on-one interview. And so the events are something that I would encourage people to take a look at in their individual market. They will have, again, different awards events, recognizing business leaders in different capacities. And then there's also the content-driven events, which was our hospitality event too. It's not an awards event, but really just be able to provide content and information that's of interest. So obviously, given the nature of those industries that are booming here in Arizona, so we really captured two terrific panels. Each of the individuals participating were very widely known in the market here. And so those types of events, I would encourage people to take a look at in your individual market, whether it's a American City Business Journal market or not. There's all kinds of business related events. It could just provide an opportunity for people to attend and educate themselves about a particular topic. Or, maybe there's somebody that you really want to get to know. And if they're being recognized, it gives you an opportunity to be able to go and meet that person face to face. So it could be a local executive. It could be somebody from a college or university that you want to be able to be in touch with, or being able to go and make an introduction and provide your own information for future correspondence. So any type of those in-person events provide just that, to be able to engage with an individual or an organization in person, as opposed to communicating via email or whatever other approach you may have to try to make a contact with someone specifically.
That's great. Appreciate that. People may have some questions at the end, but we'll move on to our next guest. Thanks so much, Ray. That was terrific.
Appreciate it.
Now we're going to move on to television. That's another medium that's been declared dead many times before. And it is still with us, thank goodness. So I also love television. Grew up on television, sitting in front of television. I have a lot of jokes about that. There used to be a show called Dream On, which was about a kid that grew up in front of the television and how it changed his life. And that was me. I hope that I was in New York City, where TV used to be in New York City. That used to be the main place where there was television, where the shows were made. So we actually got to see a lot of the shows being made. participate in shows and all types of things. So I sort of miss a little bit of that. But we're very excited to have Susan Casper with us today. I've known Susan for many years as well, and I'll let her tell you about her background. But she's fantastic. She's quite a star here, and we're very lucky to have her this morning. And she's made some changes herself. She's always on the move, developing, learning, changing. But one thing I wanted to say, and one reason I'm having this program, is the image of a parent of athletes. Now, you stop and think about it. When somebody says that to you, you think soccer mom, or you think what I call the baseball dads, which is the guy yelling at the umpire, right? The image of parents in sports is not particularly good. I'm sure we can all name a few parents that we've been on TV a lot, more so than they need to be, and not the manner of which is most helpful to their children. So I wanted Susan to come on, and two reasons. One, to talk about television industry and where that's making a lot of changes to, where that's headed, but also as a parent of athletes. So I wanted her to address that as well. Welcome, Susan. You're on.
I'm on mute. I just realized that. My apologies. Well, good morning. I just wanted to thank you, Denise, for just being a trailblazer in this space and in this industry, and for extending me this gracious invitation. I've been in broadcasting for 30 years in January. Came right out of college and hit the ground running. I knew from a very young age this is what I wanted to do. There was never a question of what I would be doing. I picked up a microphone in middle school. I grew up a military brat, so we were in a military Air Force base when I got my first little recorder set and a little microphone, and I went across my entire middle school interviewing people. That was what the principal asked us to do. And I was with a classmate, and he went and interviewed the principal, the vice principal, his favorite teacher. But I interviewed the janitor, the bus driver, and the cafeteria lady. And when we put our pieces together, it was such a different and unique perspective from two kids who were in the same grade, same, economic background, but the storytelling was so very different. And in that moment, I realized that everyone has a story, and the entire assembly was cracking up when they heard from the bus driver, the cafeteria lady, and the janitor, the people that you wouldn't automatically assume had something to say because maybe they weren't at the higher stature in the school. So at that moment, I knew I had a gift of storytelling, and it was important to make sure that everyone had this opportunity to share their story. So that is how my journey began in 4th grade at Oak Hill Elementary. Fast forward almost 30 years, I have been in this industry and watched it grow so beautifully. And I say that because now we're in a totally different world. And you're going to hear from some of our other esteemed panelists later about how the industry is changing. But for 15 years since I've been in Phoenix, I was at ABC 15. And now in January, I made the transition here to Arizona's Family. Arizona's Family is a combination of KTVK, 3TV, KPHO, CBS 5, and Arizona's Family Sports. I am the community relations manager, and I am the community anchor, which is a unique evolution of this position, because now for the first time, we are putting the cause behind a lot of the campaigns we do on air. So I have a dual role as a manager in community relations for all 3 stations, but I also broadcast, and I anchor, I tell stories, and I have this wonderful opportunity to be able to do both in this new space. For over 75 years, Arizona's Family has really been the premier local news, weather, sports, and entertainment destination here in Arizona. A lot of people still sing the jingle. If you grew up in Arizona, you know the jingle. 3TV, the place with more stuff, is probably what you remember. We are a company proudly owned by Gray Television, based in Atlanta, and Arizona's Family is the largest television news station in the Grand Canyon state, producing more than 100 hours of live news and entertainment programming a week. And in June of 2024, this past June, Arizona's Family became the official home of the Arizona Cardinals. So I'm sure you've probably seen a lot of information about that. We're very proud about that. But as I said, we broadcast over 100 hours of live news every single week, and that includes online, on demand, because most people, as you all know, we don't consume our news like we used to. It was programmed television appointment programming when I was growing up. 6 o'clock news, you had your dinner at the table, you sat there, you watched Peter Jennings or Tom Brokaw or one of the other anchors that you just so affectionately loved. And my daughters, excuse me, my daughters are at Arizona State University, and you heard Denise talk a little bit about that. So I have twin girls. They are 19 years old, and one of them is at Walter Cronkite at Arizona State University, and the other is directly across the sidewalk at Watts College. My daughters, one of them is following mommy's track. She is going to be a sports reporter, and her twin sister is studying a sports recreation and sports management at ASU. They are rising sophomores at Barrett, the Honors College at ASU, and one of them is a medallion scholar. One of the things that I'm most proud of is they have an incredible opportunity to change the direction of women's flag football across the country. They are the founder and co-founder of Women's Club Flag Football at Arizona State University. This is the first and the inaugural season for Women's Club. And we're so proud of them because they started this journey as freshmen. So they started playing flag at Hamilton High School, and they graduated 2 years ago, but they were right on the other side of it becoming an official AIA sanctioned sport. So they graduated the year they won the championship. It didn't count because it didn't become a sanctioned sport until after they had graduated. And they were a little frustrated, not gonna lie. And as a mom, you want to protect your kids and you want to, show them the positive in everything. So when I watched them getting a little frustrated, I said, well, what are you going to do to change it? And they said, well, what can we do? I said, there's no flag football team at Arizona State University. Why don't you start one? And that was a huge undertaking to think about, starting a club flag football team. You're a freshman, you're just getting, your feet wet in college, and now you're going to pick on this big task. But my daughters, they're fighters, they're strong-willed. I have no idea where they get that from, but they knew what they had to do if they wanted to change the trajectory of women's club flag football, which over the past couple of years, you probably have noticed, is changing. For the first time in 2028, it will be an Olympic sport. NFL is backing it. The Cardinals, of course, now carrying women's club flag football in high school. So as you can imagine, my daughters who just missed that opportunity, they had some work to do and they wanted to get it done. We're so proud to say they did. And women's club flag football is officially a sport at ASU. They will start their first tournament in December 6th in California, and then their official season will start in January. So as a mother watching my daughters grow up in this world, you ask yourself, what in the world, what are they going to do? How do I protect them? They have been called and asked for interviews from all over the country. They do a lot of interviews. They do a lot of speaking to people. So NIL has become a word in our household that I never thought would be, but we have to protect them. So every interview that they get asked to do, they bring it past my husband and I. We look over it. We make sure it works. We also make sure that ASU is on board with that, because what you don't want to do is, the club is just, DQ'd or not able to play because you did something wrong. So as a parent, it's very important that we make sure that our daughters are doing the right interviews at the right time. We are very active in every interview that they do. We want to see the questions. We want to understand the direction of the interview, but we also want them to flourish and do their thing. And ASU has been incredible. So I can tell you as a parent and also as a journalist, protecting their name, image, and likeness is very important because you don't want something to derail this opportunity. The goal is for them to be a D1 sport, and that is what we consistently make sure that they do. So if you have questions, I probably went way longer than you had anticipated, but I'm certainly willing to answer any questions you might have, especially when it comes to the world of flag football.
Yeah, no, that was great. Like I said, a little different perspective. what do you feel, and there'll be maybe more questions after everyone finishes, but one thing that came to me is, what is the one piece of advice that you would have to a parent in either how you get on TV or how you stay off TV, whichever you think is best.
Yeah, staying off TV is not being a parent who wants to scream and yell. I think one of the hardest things as a parent, when our children are especially playing sports, you want the coach to hear you, you want the coach to be engaged, and you want the coach to pick your kid every single time. The one piece of advice that I have is your kid may not be as good as you think your kid is. And that's something that my husband and we're track athletes, so we were from that space. We wanted our kids to be track stars. Well, the very first track meet, we realized they're not track stars. And we had to backpedal that and say, you know what, this is not their thing. Basketball, they played basketball, they did track, and of course now flag football. So understanding that your dream for your kid may not align with what your kid wants to do. So listening to your child and allowing your child to develop his or her skills that suit them and not living vicariously through them. Because a lot of parents, and we all see it in the stands, they're screaming at the refs, they're screaming at the opposing team because something happened. Let's not get on television for that, but let's get on television for lifting and becoming a champion for all sports and being a good steward of sitting in the stands and being a spectator and not being a participator. Because I think that's where the disconnect happens a lot as well, is parents want to play. Parents want to coach, parents want to ref, and that's not our role. Our role is to lift our children and to understand the rigor that they're going through. How you get your kid on television, for example, when my children started flag, right here at Arizona's Family, they said, hey, we want to interview Sophia and Sierra about this. Are you okay with it? Absolutely. I backed out of it. I did not produce the segment. I did not host the segment. I was not in the segment. I literally was standing in the studio taking pictures as a mom. I had to wear a different hat. So understanding that if you want to get your kid on and your kid is doing something amazing and is the blueprint of something amazing at his or her school, do a press release. Doesn't have to be long-winded. The who, what, when, where, why. Those 5 things. Who, what, when, where, why. Put it into a press release, make it catchy, and send it to a TV station. Maybe you know someone who can up it a little bit and get it to in front of the assignment desk. But be a good parent in knowing your role and supporting your child in his or her dream would be my advice.
Great advice. We appreciate that. Television is not dead. It's changed. It's changed. Probably if you ask, I saw there was a statistic on it they had out yesterday about people don't have TVs anymore. Younger people, most of them have never owned a TV, but they do have this. So, and television is still getting its message out. Networks are still getting their message out. So really appreciate you being here this morning. Thanks, Susan. And now we're going to move on to more changes, and that's in everything else. There are so many podcasts. They've got internet radio. We've got we're starting a 24/7 television network ourselves. That's really more people will be watching it on this. I don't think they'll be watching it on television. So there's a lot of changes going on. And the kids know about some of that, but they don't know as much about that as we think they do. Okay. And parents may be out of the loop altogether on some things like podcasts that are going on. So I needed to have a young person come on, and he's a incoming member of our World's Best Connectors. And he works in a lot of different areas. And so I want Earl to introduce himself and talk about the future of media and how parents in particular can best interact with that. You're on, Earl.
All right. Hey, thank you very much for having me, Denise. And just to introduce myself, my name is Earl Alexander. If you see me hosting, or if you see me on podcasts, or if you see me pretty much at events or doing anything, it'll be Earl Alex. And that's how people interact with me online. That's kind of my persona. And I do everything from podcasting to hosting events and all of the such. I do interviews. I will do kind of like what you would call short, maybe exposés on businesses or on, events that are coming into town. One that I'm doing actually now is the Arizona Bowl, because this year, the Arizona Bowl is actually being sponsored by Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre and Gin and Juice. So the Arizona Bowl is a college championship football event, which actually happens in Tucson, Arizona. And I will be there with my production team, and we will be detailing the event, kind of putting together a documentary just to highlight the students. And one of the most important things about this year is that NILs are being introduced. These college players are able to generate income for their work in the community and their efforts in gaining more awareness for these organizations that they're part of. So that's awesome for me to kind of see these student athletes get these opportunities and to watch on this level the sport grow. For me, just being a part of that. But then also on the side of being a parent myself, I have a 14-year-old who's into basketball and he's doing this thing. I'm looking at, okay, well, where are the opportunities? What is my role? What level of involvement should I have? And, with the nature of this conversation, which is good to have because parents need, I think, a little bit of education on, what is the barometer of how much I should be injecting myself, and like, how can I keep my student athlete or my child athlete safe as they're building their career in athleticism? There's no rule book to any of it. We're pretty much going off of experience. And with athleticism, if your child is really out there getting it, they can get opportunities real fast, real quick. How do you prepare for that? So what I wanted to contribute in this conversation was, right now, as a parent, you actually have a lot of power to help shape the narrative for your child as they're becoming an athlete, as they're growing in their career. And so you have things that, just historically were not available to parents. And, Susan was speaking about how, you could be too much in the game, wanting to be a coach. And there are now ways for you to funnel that energy into more productive avenues for your child athlete to benefit from that. One thing that I do is I like the fact that, when my son was young, I started him like really young. I mean, like when he was first born, I started a Gmail account. And in that Gmail account, I would just save pictures, I'd save everything, and I'd have pretty much a historical record of the things that he's done athletically, just in his life. And that, now that he's 14, he has access to that Gmail account. He could see all that. But what that does is that also helps me to shape and create a narrative that can be used for future content or content now to help him gain more opportunities. So you're not sitting there stuck like, okay, I put him through 3-4 years of, of baseball, then he jumped to basketball, and then he did karate, and then you kind of are trying to figure out how all that goes, while then trying to shape their new opportunity. And okay, well, now they do, rugby or something. It helps you to keep track of all of that. And as parents, sometimes we can have these stories running in our head, and we want to keep it that way, but it's better to keep it all like in a place where you have it organized. So I say using some of these free tools like email, just to store pictures, just to store stories. Anytime the school acknowledges your student athlete, save that in there. Maybe have them their own email account that's dedicated to that. A lot of parents nowadays are creating YouTube channels specifically for their children athletes so that they can capture those memories and have it, have those posts there running, and it gains visibility. I think as a parent, one big position and role that we should play is the supportive role in our child's life, helping them to gain the attention that they need so that they can stick with it. Because sports it tests us in many areas, physically, mentally, and even sometimes spiritually. But sports really helps us to kind of, grow ourselves. And in a way, it helps us to grow our personal networks. And as a parent, you can help a child to grow their personal network by involving other family, other friends you think that would be interested in what they do. So having, using Facebook in a way to gain more awareness for your child's, event and things like that. But then asking your friends, and as they take pictures, hey, send that to me, storing it all in one place, keeping the story going, keeping that narrative going, and understanding what that narrative is for your child. And so that growth can be tracked and documented, because you never know. Say your child, takes off, you're going to want those things. So I think that's very important. And packaging that in a way where social media can help to praise your child. But I don't think putting that all on your child, or having your child in, like, as the focus of social media, or of of the highest attention, like having them in the forefront, is the best. I think the younger your student or your child athlete is, the more that they should be behind the scenes, and you should be just curating the content for them that goes out, and you should be monitoring not only the content that you put out, and making sure that there's no private or personal information for them getting out there, making sure that they're being put out in the best light, but also monitoring who's watching and who's following, just to make sure that nobody is like, and nowadays, I just want to say it so that, we don't have no overly obsessive people, or like, it doesn't get too crazy about the following. And you're just monitoring that part. You're just the support network person, the person behind your child athlete as they grow, and they can grow in the best light possible. So I think utilizing the free tools first to try to create a narrative, to understand their growth, and to track and monitor that growth, especially in the beginning, is important. Then using the stories that you get from their growth to petition for things such as podcasts, to petition for things, to create that press release, to have a story that you want to shoot to the paper saying, hey, my child athlete is about to have a game in this next week, and it's about, these two rival teams, and I want, to receive some more visibility for that. The best thing, though, that I also heard Susan say about how she spoke to ASU, when her daughters were having an interview. Keep in contact with the coach. Speak to the coach about all these opportunities. Speak to the team that your child athlete is a part of about all these opportunities, and make sure that it's in alignment with their growth, with their career that they're essentially creating. I look at this as a side career. Like, it may be something that just helps your child to grow and develop in their formative years, but it's also something that could become profitable for them, or something that they may want to pursue more seriously as they move out of their younger age. So definitely want to track that. Definitely want to make sure that everything is in alignment with their career, with their growth, with the narrative that you're creating and putting together. And I just think have fun with it at the same time. Like, it can't be so serious as to where you're trying to craft their life, but instead you're going with them along the journey, and you're highlighting the journey. You're keeping the highlights so that they can see, and involve them in a little bit of that process. Show that story to them, narrate back to them their story, help them to feel proud about their achievements, their goals, and what they're doing. And then when they're in situations where, maybe it isn't a setup interview, maybe it isn't a column in the newspaper, but it's just some kid with their camera, and they're going to add to their YouTube channel. Hey, if that's the case, then, you want them to be ready. And so they're going to need to know their own story. They're going to need to know how, what they should highlight, what their beliefs are, help their story speak to their character, speak to their characteristics. It's a very physical, sports are physical, but we want that to highlight who they are as a person, so that can echo through any media channel that they are being displayed on, any media channel that they're in connection with. So You want their narrative to highlight their character, and you want to track all that. So when you come to bigger opportunities, you have more fuel, more ammo for you to really put behind your student athlete, your child athlete, and to help them to gain those opportunities consistently and make sure everything is alignment with who they are. So that's the contribution of what I want to give. If parents are looking at, well, how do I gain more opportunities in different ways outside of TV or news? Honestly, social media is the best. Reaching out to people and platforms who you believe will help to put your child or student athlete in the best light is highly welcome nowadays. Content makers, content creators are looking for more content. Like we aren't in a position where we just have it all ready to go. So don't be afraid to reach out and but before you reach out, make sure to screen those content creators. Make sure that their content is in alignment with what characteristics you want your child or your student athlete to be associated with, because that plays a big role in future opportunities as well. So yeah, if you guys have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them, and hopefully you're able to get a good amount of information from that to make some well-informed decisions about steering your child or your student athlete's career further.
And that was fantastic, Earl. Really appreciate that. The key points that I feel that will help them with during this course is the student has to be out front right now. Okay. But you need to be there for support. And you both need to be on the same track. So a lot of this is what you can do together. But I thought you had some great suggestions as far as just storing right now. Simple thing you can do for free is just collect all of these pictures, collect the pictures. Remember you see the picture of Tiger Woods when he was 3 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a big difference later in life when people are doing documentaries, when people are doing interviews about your child. All of that comes into play. And again, the key thing is to be support. It's not about you. Sometimes it's a problem with the parent reliving their dream. It's not about you. It's about your student and putting them in the best light. So the support thing is really critical. Taylor, did you have a question? We have as another important part of our team, Taylor Wellman. Do you have a question?
I was saying for parents who are looking to promote their children, YouTube, obviously the second most used search engine, but what other platforms would you most recommend, or do you recommend they have a profile on each platform?
I'd say you would want, I think Instagram is really good right now. It's a very good visual medium, Instagram. I personally, I'm just not a personal fan of children or any young person on Twitter. So I wouldn't promote that personally right now. But Instagram, just really the visual ones, because you're going to be taking pictures, video, and then you're going to hope, if you're really involved, you're going to be cutting reels and doing things like that. That's going to bring together a lot of moments. And so Facebook is cool, but I would still stick to your personal one. I'm not a fan of young people on Facebook either. So I may be more strict than others. I don't know where everyone is at. So personally.
Yeah, I'd like to jump in because I have college kids. TikTok is where it's at for that.
Yeah, TikTok's great.
Traffic. And the reason I say that, Taylor, is because a lot of kids are getting all of their information through TikTok. Our daughters wanted to do a youth camp over the summer, and they just threw it out on TikTok. And over 100 kids came to the youth camp just from hearing about it on TikTok. They did they did all of the engagement right there on TikTok, and that's where the kids are meeting. But definitely have the parental controls up so that you can be in charge of what they're doing and the content that they're sending out and getting in.
I definitely second TikTok. TikTok is amazing. I didn't say it, but yes, 100%. Like nowadays you have to.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have to get a little started on that. We're not on TikTok yet. But anyway, we're gonna well, and that's what Earl's gonna help us out with. But anyway.
Let's do it.
But no, I think it's just a fabulous panel we've had here. And I want to say that you're going to see all these people again later. If you sign up for our webinar series that we're going to have, Wish I Had Known. This is the level of information that you'll get. This is the level of people you'll be interacting with. This is the kind of people you'll be learning from. We're gonna probably kick it off in January, but we're recruiting right now. So if you go to the website, www.wishihadknown.net, that's the guest thing. And so I talk about some next steps after this episode is going to be online. It's going to be at that website, www.wishihadknown.net, in a week or so. And so you can look at this again, but we've had 5 other classes so far this year. Every month we've had, since the middle of the year, we've had classes. So the family planning one, family business planning one was great. We had a whole panel of just parents of athletes talk. That was pretty fantastic. So we've tried to give you just a taste, a flavor of what you're going to do if you sign up for Wish I Had Known. So go online, take a look at that. We're looking right now for volunteers to help with the programming, the outreach. We hope to have some students involved in that as well. Susan mentioned the Cronkite School. We had interest from students over there. They want to be, they're not going to be running down the field. They're not the athlete, but they want to be reporters. They want to be broadcasters. So we'll be working with some of them. Sponsors, like anything else, we need money like everyone else. But in-kind services are very important too, as far as printing, producing the shows and whatnot. We're very happy to have Taylor Wellman. Taylor and Eric have been great about helping us produce the show, as well as Ron Boat is another one that does a lot of our on-site, PSA does a lot of our on-site filming. So we want more people, but they're just, they're part of our group. We need some help. They need as much help as they can in providing those services. And speakers. There's an application online if you go to that website. So submit that application and get it in. Some of the things that we're looking for in speakers is some of what you see. Are you an athlete? Are you a coach? Are you a parent that's been through this already that can address some of these issues that parents are going to have? Are you a financial planner? Are you can help people with their taxes? We are wide open right now and looking for the kind of people who can support. And if you go online, you can see the 4 different subject areas. We talk about parenting. We talk about financial planning. We talk about the athlete themselves, physical and mental well-being. So sports medicine, that type of thing. And the final piece is really how the whole family works together. So what are the other impacts on other members of the family? How can you start a family business? This might be a great way to start a family business, because my vision, or the vision of WBC and NILO Limited, which is our nonprofit, is to create 1,000 new business leaders. So keep that in mind. That's what we're trying to do. Create 1,000 new business leaders from student athletes. So we want them to have businesses while they're in school, or businesses after they're at school, businesses while they're having their career, businesses after their career. We want to take care of them all along the way and help them do that. Schedule a call with me. When you go online, you can see how to do that, or one of my other people in my group, and we'll talk to you about the mastermind. See if that's something that really fits. It might not fit you, and you might not fit us, okay? So we need to talk about that, but we really want to hear from you as what your problem is. And we're going to be strictly honest about whether we can help you with your problem and your problems. So parents, I know you're feeling sort of overwhelmed already, probably. People, coming online and seeing this, and this hour is very important that you had to take an hour to watch our show. So we know that you have a lot of pressures out there, but we think the Wish I Had Known Mastermind course can help you with what I call, people have heard me say this a dozen times, the 3 R's. Okay, in the old days, when I was in school, it was reading, writing, and arithmetic, which was pretty corny. But anyway, right now, the modern 3 R's are resources, reference, and referrals is what I talk to. And this is what you need to have your student athlete have a healthy, enjoyable time, both on the field and off the field. So you can schedule a 30-minute session with me or one of my people in my group, and we want to see you at this mastermind. We want you to be a part of this. We're also going to have a 24/7 television network that's called Nilo Media Network. So you can look that up right now, nilomedianetwork.com, and you'll probably see these people that you saw today and the rest of the people that were in the previous 5 courses. You'll see them on that network as well. So what we're going to do with that, it's going to be a network entirely devoted to college athletes. There's nothing else like that. Believe it or not, there's nothing else like that. So we're going to focus on students themselves, and focus on parents, universities are interested, sports companies are interested, coaches. A lot of these people can provide you additional support that you need on their own. So we're going to have a directory of services that you'll have available to you. So with that, I hope everyone has a great rest of the day or rest of the week. And we want to see you again in the mastermind. But thanks to all my guests who are here today. So take care, everybody.